The most radicalized country in the world today is Canada.
Really?
Toronto and Montreal are worse than anywhere.
Wow. Do you think we'll see an exodus of the Jewish community?
Yes, 100%.
To Israel?
Israel, Florida, or Texas?
Shalom and good evening, everyone. Welcome to this special broadcast here on Perspectives, your Jewish Israeli channel here in North America. Tonight we have a special talk, important conversation about an event that will take place on April 16th here in Toronto, an event that carries significant meaning for many of us. Joining me tonight on the show is Amir Epstein, the CEO of Tafsik, an organization that has been making real impact. We'll be talking about the upcoming event, his mission behind Tafsik, and why this moment today and this time really matters. Shalom, Amir.
Shalom, how are you?
I'm fine. Thank you very much for joining the show. For those who aren't familiar with Tafsik, can you please share us a short overview of what the organization stands for and what its main goals are?
Of course. So Tafsik is a Jewish civil rights group in Canada. We focus on five main pillars. Advocacy, so we fight back against those who try to oppress and try to antagonize us. We help university kids through different programs. We build allyships, specifically with the Hindu and the Iranian communities. We've been doing great work with them. We also do technology. We're coming out with apps. And overall, we're just working to protect the Jewish community and stand up.
Right. Now, for those who aren't familiar with Hebrew, Tafsik in Hebrew means enough. I'm just wondering, where did you get that unique name from?
When I was a kid, that's the thing I heard the most from my mom, like, Tafsik,
enough,
Tafsik. Enough, because I was causing trouble, It was like,
right.
Enough trouble. Masfik, Tafsik, die. But die doesn't translate well in English to the Canadian Jews.
Right. Did you grow up in Israel? Tell us a little bit about your connection.
I was born in Haifa. Yeah, I was born in Haifa. I moved here when I was 5 years old, and I've been dealing with a cold ever since. Wondering why we came here, but here we are.
And the organization Tafsik, tell us a little bit, when did it start being involved in Jewish issues, and how did it all evolve?
Sure. So I've always been very active, online specifically, and kind of, fighting back in that respect, but always wanting to do more. But it wasn't until, I know all of us were affected differently but critically by October 7th. And it wasn't even just the attack that kind of led me to really propel this forward. It was seeing the world in delight to our suffering, seeing them, completely not only just ignore and neglect, but cheer, elation in our suffering. And I realized, this is crazy. We need to do something. We gotta stand up. We gotta come back, and we gotta protect our community. We gotta do. We can't just sit here and hope anyone else is gonna do it for us. And so, we decided this is what we're gonna do, and this is all I do full time. It takes up 100 hours a week easily. I work till 3 a.m, but this is a calling. At this point, it's become a calling. I have to do this because it feels like, we need this more than ever. We don't have really wartime organizations that are ready to stand up and fight back. We have organizations that do good work that help senior citizens and Holocaust survivors and that kind of stuff, which is fantastic. But today, what the most critical thing our community is facing, it seems like, there wasn't much going on to protect that. And so you see a few grassroots kind of come out of the woodwork and come out of the ashes of October 7th, and we're one of them. And we've been going full time, full speed ahead and standing up against them.
In Hebrew, we say "kol hakavod," for this challenge. And your organization brought Irene Mulan just recently, and I know you're planning on bringing some more Jewish advocates. But I want to ask you regarding the April 16th. What is it? What is the event all about? What message are you hoping to send, and who should pay attention to this?
Look. The idea of the rally is Zionism is an integral part of Judaism. Okay, this is what we're trying to explain. Anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. Anti-Zionism is Jew hatred. Anti-Zionism is racism. you know, the Jew haters, they think this is a modern invention created by Herzl in the 1800s, that Zionism, you know, they don't understand that Zionism has been ingrained in Judaism for 2,000 years, long before the first Arab ever wandered the Arab peninsula.
Correct.
Evidence? Shema. The Shema prayer is the central declaration of the Jewish faith, affirming our openness with God as provided in the Torah. And how do we recite the Shema? We say Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. We say Shema Israel. This was given to the Jews 1,300 years before Jesus Christ was born, 2,000 years before Muhammad came and conquered and colonized, by the way, Mecca, and under his name later, you know, Egypt, North Africa, Persia, if you want to talk about colonizers. But today we recite Shema as part of our daily prayers, a practice we've maintained thousands of years. At the conclusion, and more evidence, at the conclusion of our Seder, Passover, next and Yom Kippur, next year in Jerusalem. This is what we've been saying for how long? Since the 6th century. Since the first time we were exiled from the Babylonians. This is 600 years before Jesus Christ was born. What did it mean? It meant may we return to our ancestral homeland of Israel. Thousands of years we've been saying this. We've been concluding our holiest holidays this way. The Jew haters think Zionism is a new settler colonial project because they're idiots and they don't know history. Since the Jews were first slaughtered, expelled in mass numbers from Judea, from Israel in 586 BC, again, Babylonian rule, following the destruction of King David's, it was King David's first temple at the time. Zionism is prevalent. How? Jews settled across North Africa. Jews settled in Europe, in Asia, all across Europe. And we built synagogues. What do we do with the synagogues? Every single synagogue has one thing in common. What is it?
It has the book of Torah.
There's something else. The bima is always facing Jerusalem. Anywhere in the world. It's been happening since the Ephesian Basilica in Croatia, when that first synagogue was built outside
east,
of Israel.
like when we pray east.
Always.
Yeah.
Exactly. Why?
Amir.
Because we're facing Israel. This is Zionism. It's ingrained in our Judaism. It's our ethnical. It's cultural.
Amir, me and you, we know all that, but in today's climate, activism can be both powerful but also challenging. What obstacles have you and Tafsik faced in getting your messages out?
They are weaponizing words against us, and we're allowing them. They use words like, we are allowing them.
Why?
We allow them because when they refer to Gaza as a concentration camp, and when they refer to what's happening in Gaza, a war that they started after killing 1,200 of our people and taking hundreds hostages, they call that a Holocaust. They're using our history, our pain that we suffered, and inflating it to try to justify, to create sympathy
genocide.
For their own. And
they're saying genocide.
That's what genocide. 1-for-1 ratio, according to the urban warfare expert of the world, Colonel John Spencer, who we had, by the way. There is no genocide. There's a war that they started. The reason why we're suffering right now, the reason why we're losing this war of words is because we think we're facing a war of being obliterated in Canada. Jews are not being killed yet in Canada, but we are being vilified and we're being minimized. And exactly, and Zionism is one of the key words that they use against us. This is the same as Judaism. They say Zionists, they mean Jew. Okay, it's under the auspices of Jew. They're anti-Semitic, but they use that because it's socially acceptable to say it. Why? Because we're not fighting back. We're not saying, no. Zionism is Judaism. It's been a part of our religious practices.
Always.
It's been a part of our culture. Yeah. Thousands of years since the Torah. Okay, our daily prayer. So, yeah.
Amir, what kind of impact do you hope this event will have in the short term and in the long run? And are there any specific actions that you want to see from both the community and the decision makers?
Of course. First of all, recognizing that anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism and fighting back with those words. Every time someone says Zionist, you fix their wording, you say, you mean Jews. You mean Jews. You see, this is the thing, okay, in our culture today in Canada. We have people who will cancel you if you assume their gender. You have people who will cancel you if you're not, if you're not assuming...
Not politically correct.
If you're and that's fine. That's the culture we live in today. But how come everybody else gets to define the Jews except for the Jews? Nobody gets to define us except us. They have their tokenized Jews. They have their Notorai Karta. These people are fringe groups. They're not anybody that the rest of the Jews even respect. The thing that we have to also remember is that 95%, according to Gallup, senior scientist Frank Newport, reports that 95% of Jews support Israel, and therefore 95% of Jews are Zionists. You can't take the identity of the fringe group, the tokenized Jews, the 5%.
I wish it was true. By the way, I don't think it's true. I wish it was true. 95% of the Jews in the world support Israel. I doubt it.
Yes. No, it is true according to them. Look, at the end of the day, the majority, even if it's not 95%,
depends how you define support. Okay. Because we've seen even world Jewry or world diaspora, diaspora Jews, how right after October 7th they were very close, but even now you hear voices about why the soldiers are doing this, why the soldiers are doing that from Jews. You hear that.
You do. Look, in Israel, it's very different than in Canada.
Absolutely.
Left in Israel is still very pro-Israel. We love Israel there. Different opinions of government. That's fine. That's what democracy is. That's what makes Israel different than all the disgusting countries surrounding it that is littered with terror and just horrible life and disenfranchisement. The governments there are disgusting. Israel government, yeah, you can sit there and say whatever you want about Bibi. You can say he's the best. You can say he's the worst. That's part of being Israeli. But not almost any Israeli will tell you that they hate Israel. Israel shouldn't exist.
Of course not.
That's what they're saying here. What they're saying here. So the majority of Jews, whether or not they support Bibi, whether or not they are against Bibi, majority of Jews support Israel and that they love Israel and they understand and comprehend the importance of it being our ancestral homeland.
Amir, is your organization affiliated with political organizations, both here in Canada or in Israel?
We are we have great relationships with a lot of political leaders within Canada. We meet with them all the time. We express our concerns. I've spoken at Parliament under the Human Rights Committee that the Iranians had a delegation. I've spoken at the Cuban, Nicaraguan, and oh gosh, I can't remember the third country. They were having as well a human rights. So I've spoken at Parliament many times. The Conservative Party in Canada, the federal, I will make the distinction because we are having a lot of problems with the premier in Ontario who pretends to be conservative. But anyway, pretends to be conservative. But the federal government, under leadership of Pierre Poilievre, under the deputy officer, Melissa Lantzman, the most pro-Jewish, pro-Israel, common sense. They say they're common sense. Well, it's true. Any Jewish person who's like, well, I think the liberals might be a good vote, are not aware of the concerns that we have and the understanding and intelligence that we have of where the Jewish people are today and where we stand in Canada. They think we're safe. They feel like there's a bubble. They don't understand what's coming. But those who have a good idea understand that
where is it going? Where do you think it's going? Israel? Where do you think it's going? To the direction of France and England and Australia?
I can tell you after speaking to intelligence of Europol, okay, this is anti-terrorism in Europol. We had a great meeting here and they said to me, the most radicalized country in the world today is Canada.
Really?
Toronto and Montreal are worse than anywhere.
Wow. That's a headline, okay. That's a headline.
It's horrifying. Yeah, well, it's horrifying and people don't... You know what it is? A lot of Jews in Canada, they watch their hockey games, they come home, they eat their dinner, they don't experience it, they don't really feel it, they don't want to hear it. Eyes closed, it's not happening, everything's fine, let's go to whatever. The Jews who are involved in real advocacy in Canada, we know what's really happening and it's horrifying.
So what do you think might happen if the liberals will gain power again?
Oh my God. I don't know what to tell you. If the liberals gain power again, we're going to see further distancing from the allyship we once had with Israel. We're going to see more sanctions. We're going to see more normalization of anti-Zionism, which is, again, Jew hatred. We see it in the schools from kindergarten to grade 12. They're normalizing what's called anti-Palestinian racism.
Do you think we'll see an exodus of the Jewish community?
Yes, 100%.
To Israel?
Israel, Florida, or Texas. That's what everybody keeps talking about. They go, maybe Florida, maybe Texas, maybe Israel. No one's saying New York. No one's saying Los Angeles. People don't want to go so far away from Toronto because a lot of their roots are here. So Florida is a good option, so is Texas. But you know what? They're all pit stops. Ronan, they're all pit stops. Because everyone, eventually, we have to get back to Yerushalayim. We have no choice but to go back to our...
Pit stops because we are the wandering Jews, as in history. Amir, final question. For those watching at home right now who want to support your cause, what's the best way for them to get involved?
Come to the rally. If there's one thing you can do, come to the rally. It's free. It doesn't cost anything. Come stand up. This is going to be seen by the world. This is the first rally of its kind. We've never seen an anti-Zionism is Jew hatred rally before anywhere in the world. Take back the narrative. Don't let them get away with calling Zionists whatever they want because they mean Jew. And you call them out when they say it.
Yeah. Amir Epstein, toda rabba. Thank you very much. You're always welcome here on our channel. This is the first time you're here, but I think we share many visions and many ideas. So good luck on the 16th, and I will add that we will broadcast it live. This event will be live on Perspectives, so anyone can share it, so people in Israel and in America can watch it again. You can watch it here on Perspectives on Facebook.
So we'll see them. Yeah, we'll see politicians there speaking. We'll have a lot of people coming out, so please do.
Alright, תודה רבה אמיר. להתראות, שלום.
תודה רבה.